And we're live. Good morning, everybody. Welcome into 9 a.m. on Wednesday. It is time for Comb Clinic. That's right. Everybody has loved Clipper Clinic and Scissor Clinic, so I thought, let's do Comb Clinic. What a great idea. You know, we love our combs. We are a big fan of combs in the haircut business. So I thought we'd do a deep dive into combs. I got boxes of combs over here we're going to look at. You know, we're particular about our combs. We're picky about our combs. We know what we like. We like what we like. We're choosy about all kinds of different features and benefits and characteristics of the combs that we use to cut hair and to do our work every single day. So what a great idea. I thought this will be fun. I don't know if we're going to get through all of them. If we do not, we'll just do another comb clinic next week. We'll share another episode. So as is always the case, welcome in. I hope you're having a great day. Raining here in Chicago, but we've had some beautiful weather. It'll clear up. It'll be a great day. But let's get started. Let's start out by talking about being a $100,000 hair cutter. That's right, $100,000 hair cutter. Now you'll notice the image is reversed today because I've got the camera forward facing. I'm in selfie mode. I'm not in reverse mode because I'm not writing on the pad today. The language and the lettering is not as important as the connection and communication. I want to be able to see you guys coming through on the feed, on the comments, and be on top of everything. But $100,000 hair cutter, remember, it's not a one-day thing. It's an everyday thing. And that's why the book was written the way it is. It's one idea a day, every single day for you, for 365 days to help you build and grow your business. Let's talk about today. Today is June 3. Let's go there in the book. Remember, I did all the artwork myself. I've got the tracking data, the dates, the day, how many days remaining in there. Paper, digital, and audio. Amazon or ivanzoot.com. None of this stuff changes. It's the same every time. June 3, day 154, with 211 days remaining in the year. Arc the ears. Arc your ears. This is a technical cutting tip today. When trimming around the ears, avoid overcutting the arc by splitting the arc in two parts. Think of the ear like it is a clock. The top is noon, the bottom is 6, and the sides are 3 and 9. You with me on this? Of course. Cut from 9 to noon and 3 to noon. Let me grab a mannequin real quick. When we're cutting ears, this ear's more exposed. When we're cutting ears, you use your trimmer to work in two 15-minute segments, stopping at midnight. You cut from 9 to noon, and you stop, and you cut from 3 to noon. Two segments, stopping at 12. If you cut it in one clean semicircle, you're going to overcut the arc on the back side of the ear like that, and you're going to end up with a little bit of a goofy hairline. We don't want to do that. We don't want to overcut the ear arc. So that's your tip for today. Today's tip in $100,000 hair cutter is a technical cutting tip. Now, you know we have sales, business, marketing, advertising, promotion, shop culture, technical cutting, of course. It's all in here. If you don't already have a copy of $100,000 hair cutter, get yourself a copy of $100,000 hair cutter so that you can be with me every day. If you don't want to read the book, you can subscribe online on my Patreon page. And I'll put that link up here in just a little bit. On my Patreon page, you can have the $100,000 hair cutter tip of the day to you electronically every single day. So you don't need to actually hold the paper book if you're one of these people that loves to get your info, your news, and everything else through technology. I'm supporting it that way by way of the Patreon page. So you're encouraged to go there. You also get the big and bigger tips every week. Big Busy Barbershop, Bigger Busy Barbershop. These tips come out every Monday morning. It's a marketing tip, hyper-focused on one thing, and that is growing business. So when you are a member on the Patreon page, you get 100,000 and you get Big and Bigger electronically every single week, every single day. You can have your information that way if you like. So that's our $100,000 hair cutter tip of the day. As we go to combs, When we talk about combs, we got to talk about cleaning our combs. You know we do. Soap and water, rinse them off, and where do they go? That's right, they go in the barbicide. Every comb, every time, boom, in the barbicide. 32:2 is your dilution ratio for barbicide. 2 ounces of barbicide concentrate solution mixed with 32 ounces of water. That's what fills the jar. It's a 34-ounce jar, 2 to 32. Fill it up. Plastic, metal, and glass. 10 minutes. In the barbicide, 10 minutes. Out of the barbicide. Rinse, dry, stash in a covered container. Remember, combs don't live in barbicide. Combs don't stay in barbicide. Combs go in barbicide. Combs get out of barbicide. I can't stress that enough. You know, we think a lot of the times we see these old barber shops. We see guys out there that have their combs permanently living in the barbicide sauce. And that's just not the way it's supposed to be. Soap and water to sanitize. Barbicide to disinfect. 10 minutes out. Rinse, dry, drawer. Rinse, dry, drawer. That's the way it works. So, it's time for Comb Clinic. Starting out big. Go big or stay home. I got my clown comb right here. This one's a biggie. And this one's part of my comb collection. I have a couple of them. They were gifts by a buddy whose company, family business, actually makes these. And I've used them to cut hair on stage. The problem with these are, this is a very brittle plastic. It's a material, I think it's styrene. And the problem with it is the teeth pop off like crazy. They break immediately. As soon as you comb something with a big old comb like this, with these brittle teeth, they pop right off. And here's a rule for you. You break a tooth, you toss the comb. You break a tooth, you throw the comb in the garbage. When a comb has a broken tooth, it is no longer safe to be used on a client. And this is one of those elements of comb enthusiasm, comb passion that many hair cutters have. You got a favorite. You bought it at a show. You love this comb. It's your favorite comb. You chip a tooth, you keep using it. It loses a tooth, you keep using it. I've seen some hair cutters in shops, and I've seen some hair cutters on stages with some pretty sad, damaged, broken tooth combs. These combs look like a boxer, a hockey player comb. Not okay. Not okay. Really, really unprofessional. Really, really tacky. As soon as you break a tooth off a comb, throw it in the garbage. So, a piece of this comb message is, when you find a comb that you truly, really fall in love with, don't buy one. Most combs from the manufacturers, they come in 6-packs or 12-packs the way they're shipped in. Buy a 12er. Buy a 6er. Even combs that are more expensive. You know, my Zoot combs, the Solo Zoot comb, I think sells for $16. Not a cheap comb. I get it. First of all, they're unbreakable. You will never break a tooth off a Zoot comb. The material, it's a glass-filled nylon plastic material, special material. You can't break a tooth off. You won't ever break a tooth off these. So you're not going to need as many of them, but you don't buy one. You buy 6, you buy 3. You got to have backups. You got to have extras. I always say 1 in your hand, 1 in the drawer, 1 in the barbicide, 1 on the floor. That's my little Dr. Seuss comb rhyme to remind people that you got to have more combs. 1 in your hand, 1 in the drawer, 1 in the barbicide, 1 on the floor. That's the way it goes with combs. So let me bring out some comb boxes, some boxes of combs, and let's get into it a little bit. Let's see what we can share. Let's see what we can learn. Let's have a little bit of fun. Are you with me? If you're with me for some comb fun today, throw me a thumb, throw me a little heart, throw me some love here on Facebook. All right, now, one of the things I do want to mention about some of the combs we're going to look at, some of the combs that I have are combs that I sell on my website. And this is not a sales pitch by any means. Many of these combs, the majority of these combs, are not combs that I offer for sale on my website. They're combs that I'm sharing for a lot of reasons. And there's no better place to begin than the beginning. I've been in the business 33 years, and I'm proudly telling people all the time that one of my first jobs in the business was at Supercuts. And Supercuts at the time was the dominant chain in the United States of America. Supercuts was the biggie. They had the most stores, and other chains have gotten bigger over the years. But I always look back with fond memories of my time, my days at Supercuts. I learned how to cut hair in beauty school. I learned more about cutting hair in barber school. And then when I got to Supercuts, that's when I really learned a system. That's when I really gained knowledge, and I use it every day. If you watch me cut hair on stage, in a class, at the shop, you will notice there are things that I do that if you've been Supercuts trained, and the Supercuts system has evolved over the years from when it was originally taught to me, I still do things every single day that I learned at Supercuts. And Supercuts cutting system was based on a very specific comb and a very specific scissors. This is my feather switchblade. I've talked about it a lot. This is a 33-year-old switchblade that I bought when I started working at Supercuts because my manager at my first store said, you got to go get switchblades. I went across the street, I went to Sally Beauty Supply, and I bought a switchblade. This was my original. The blades have been replaced, obviously, many times. But the comb. This is the comb that Supercuts built their business on. This is called a Champion 28. Talk about expensive combs. These are not cheap. Champion hard rubber, made in Germany, been around a long time. I think they're hand polished and finished, and I gotta take my glasses off so I can really see what I got going on here. But really, really fine teeth on the fine end, and really nice wider teeth on the standard end. This was their one comb. They did everything with this. The fine end was small enough for tight tapering work, and the wide end was big enough for clipper over comb blending. We did everything with these. A typical Supercuts had hundreds of these, and they were not cheap combs. I'm sure they bought them at probably the lowest prices out there, but this was a Champ 28. I still have one. I still love my Champ 28. I could still cut hair with it tomorrow and do everything with it tomorrow because it's kind of ingrained in my haircutting DNA. It's a Champ 28. Now, I'm going to put that one away, and I'm going to show you this. This is called a Super Comb. After a while, and you see it's got Supercuts' name on it, Supercuts got a little tired, I think, of paying what they were paying for Champion 28s, and there were millions of these combs out there in the marketplace. So Supercuts commissioned their own unique comb. It is their blue color. That's kind of part of their corporate ID and branding, is the blue color. It carried their name on them. And if you worked at Supercuts, you loved these combs. Those people that, my friends that still work at Supercuts, love these combs. They were modeled after the 28. They were pretty close. They were pretty close dimensionally to your 28. They weren't hard rubber, they're plastic, but they were extremely durable. I've never broken a tooth off one, and I have probably half a dozen of them here. You could buy them through the Supercuts system so you could own your own, which I've done. And I still get people reaching out to me online with requests to, hey, can you get me Supercuts combs? So this is the actual Supercuts comb modeled after the 28. This guy right here is what I was selling for many years. I called them amazing combs or something like that. I didn't want to use the word super because I didn't want to get in trouble. But these were big combs. These, again, were modeled off the approximate size of your blue Supercuts comb or your Champ 28. These were plastic. I could get these pretty cheap. And I used to sell them for a really good price, and I used to sell lots of them. People really liked these, and I would make these available to people who were addicted to their Supercuts comb and couldn't get them. I can't get these anymore. These were plastic, but I replaced them in my sales with these. This is the exact same comb as the one I had been holding. It's the exact same comb as the blue Super Comb, but what's unique about these is they're carbon. And there are people now, keep in mind, we've talked about hard rubber, that was our Champ 28. Plastic, that was our blue Super Comb. This was also a plastic. Now we have plastic infused with carbon. And I still do sell these. These are available on my website. I sell them in a 2-pack. They're a little more expensive than plastic, but they're carbon. But what I like about them is a lot of times, and I'm going to show you a carbon comb in just a minute, when you have carbon in combs, they tend to get heavy. And a large comb like this with a lot of carbon in it would be a very, very, very heavy comb. This one is not. Despite the fact that it's carbon, it's still a reasonable weight. Some of the carbon combs, I mean, they're so heavy that over a day of use, you're going to feel them in your arm and you think, well, it's just not that heavy. It's a comb. It adds up. So this is a carbon version of that super comb. So we've got 4 combs that we've looked at already, all modeled off that big comb supercuts idea. Now I do want to share these with you. This is a 3-piece set, and they're not all the exact same. There's gray, black, and white. These are those large size combs. They're modeled and scaled after, again, your Champ 28. They're actually a little bit bigger than a 28 in size. They've got the sectioning and parting tooth gap on one end. They've got the fine teeth on the other. Now this white one comes from Sam Villa through Redken. You get these at Salon Centric, and they're beautiful for visibility. You can't cut what you can't see. Dark hair, light combs, light hair, dark combs. You know that routine. Plastic, but it's a little more of a slick plastic than certainly than the carbon comb, and it's a bit of a higher quality, maybe a softer material than the super comb was. That's the white one from Sam Villa. Now, interestingly, Villa, the gray and the black are from Villa San Francisco. You see these guys at the hair shows. They sell Sensei scissors. But again, if you're a large comb fan and what's called a sketching comb, if you like that big size comb, this was a set. I used to keep these in my station because I would switch them up for hair color. Big combs, again, a do-all comb. If you're good with this comb, you can do every single thing on a haircut with this one comb and not need any other comb the whole way through. So that covers some of the really large sketching type combs. So not as big as the big comb, but big combs nonetheless. Let's take a look at what we have next. I went into my comb archive and I pulled out some interesting things. So we're going to go through these one at a time, and in some cases more than one at a time, because they fall into groups or sets. This comb is a shampoo comb. This comb is used for detangling at the shampoo bowl. This comb is used for combing conditioner through hair, combing color through the ends of hair. It's a relatively cheapy plastic. It does not have a bad mold line on it. The mold line is the seam where the comb comes in and out of the mold. Interestingly, the mold line on this one is here as opposed to this way. So actually the mold line on this comb is not in any way going to contact the hair, which is a good thing because some combs that have a fairly aggressive mold line can be very abusive to or aggressive to the cuticle. Where I got this comb, though, was for backhand. I like this comb because it had a handle that let me grab it for my backhand clipper technique. And it had a thin portion of the handle up here where it fit into my hand really well when I went to grab it. That's an important design element when we go later and talk about the Zoot comb, because it's part of how that comb was designed. But it has wide teeth, it has rounded teeth, it has very smooth teeth. It doesn't have a mold line on the teeth, so it's not going to damage the hair. It's going to flow through nicely. Really good for detangling. Not really a hair cutting comb, but definitely an important comb in that conversation. While we're there, I'll pick up this one. Also a handle comb. This is Triumph. This is made in Germany. I purchased this comb at the International Beauty Show in London. I used to like to buy combs in London because you would see stuff we couldn't get here in America. Again, there's some elements of this comb because when I was designing Zoot comb, I actually went through my combs and I took the things I like the best about certain combs. And actually what I'm going to do with this green bucket is every time I show you a comb and every time I talk about a comb, that has some connection to the design and the invention of the zoot comb, I'm going to put it in the green bucket. So when we talk about the zoot comb, I'm going to pull all these combs out and show you what I was trying to do when I did what I did. But we've got a handle. Knurling on the surface here for grip. You'll see that on the zoot comb. Handle that I can grab with 2 fingers, and wide teeth for low tension. There's a lot of zoot comb conversation in this guy. Gray for light color for visibility. This contributed heavily to the creation of the zoot comb. But anti-static, it says, virtually unbreakable. This is an example. I only bought one. I never bought another. And I used it a lot. It was part of my regular road and travel kit. Because I used it for my demos to hold it like that. I stopped obviously using it for that because I invented and created zoot comb, which replaced it, because now I got my own and it was my favorite. But really cool handle comb in that regard. Other interesting things in the bucket here. This is also a Champion. This one is actually a Hercules, which was a Champion competitor. So not Champion, but Hercules, and this one was called a 4930. I have here, this is the Champion version. Actually, no, this one's a Hercules too. But Champion calls it a C1. C like comb, 1 like number 1. This has an interesting combination of normal and slightly wider. Not really wide and not really thin. Not really fine on either side, but definitely a slight difference in the tooth spacings. This was always my razor comb. This was my comb of choice for razor cutting. It has centimeter markings on the back side, but they're unbreakable, they're hard rubber, they're foreign made, they're not inexpensive. But this was my go-to razor cutting comb because I believed you never razor cut with fine teeth for tight tension. So this was my go-to razor comb for a lot of years. It was a Champ C1, or in this case, a Hercules. Since we brought it up and since we held it up, this one is a Karg from Mike Karg. Mike Karg is from Switzerland. He also cuts hair in New York. Many of you have seen him at a show. He's the dry cutting guru. Big time dry cutting guy. This is his comb that he has made. I bought a 6-pack of these when he introduced them. I liked them because they were red. I really like a lot of red combs. You'll notice in my comb collection, there's a lot of red in the bucket. There's a lot of red on the table here. It's a visibility thing. Also, as a demonstrator and as an educator, when I was up on stage and you were watching me from a distance, red played into visibility. People could really see how I was manipulating or what I was doing with it. This is a really great comb. It's got a wide sectioning pick at the top. It's got wide teeth, dry cutting. You tend to do condensed cutting. You're taking large sections, so the wide teeth make sense. And obviously, it's got a complement of very fine teeth for much more specific control on this end of the comb. As a scissor cutting comb, I like these a lot, and I use these a lot. Not just for the visibility. It's a good material. Never broken a tooth off one. You never will. But these are the red combs from Mike Karg, which I found to enjoy a lot. I've got a set of combs here. I want to get them all. This is a 4-piece set. Now, these are 33 years old. I bought these when I first got out of school. And these are, I'm not sure, it's a Beauty Pro or Beauty Pro, B-E-U-Y Pro combs. They have different numbers on them. And interesting stories. The red one, when I apprenticed as a hair cutter, the woman that I apprenticed with first, this was her comb of choice for hair cutting. She had about 3 of them. It was the only comb she had and the only comb she used. And Marge was very, very particular about this comb. I had trouble watching her cut because I was new in the business, and the fact that the comb did not have any fine teeth didn't really work for me well. But you got to remember the type of work that she did and the way in which she worked, this comb worked for her. She was not a sort of Sassoon-inspired precision hair cutter. She did a lot of shampoo, blow-dry, iron curl work. So her hair cutting had a different degree of precision from some of the hair cutting that I typically tended to do. So while it's never been a favorite of mine, I always understood and appreciated it as a favorite of someone who was instrumental as a mentor to me early on in my career. In that line, the standard 7-inch cutting comb in the Beauty Pro line, black, plastic. I just don't really have, I've never in my career really had a use for a plain old cutting comb, a plain old standard 7. Was never my go-to, was not something I particularly cared for, liked, or used very much, but it was in the line. A lot of people like this one, and I like the blue one better than the red one, because you'll notice the red one was wide and medium. The blue one is fine and wide, no medium. So this was more of a traditional cutting comb, but it gave you the low tension side on it. The blue color was fun. I preferred it over the red in that Beauty Pro line. Lastly, from Beauty Pro, and a comb that I've not traditionally ever really liked or used, this was their large, their 407. And it's a mold that is very popular. Cricut uses it for their silk comb. Andis had a gray comb in their line made off of this mold. Pretty versatile, almost a clipper comb for some people in terms of its width, but just not one that I was ever particularly a big user of, but it rounded out that set or that collection. While we're talking about sets or collections, I do want to share these. This one features, this is bigger than a Champ 28. This is a biggie. This is a long comb, 8.5, excuse me. Pardon me. Wow. I knew that was coming. Big sketching comb, 8.5 cutting comb, and classic Barber taper comb. This is the American Crew set. Now, I don't know if they still offer these, but the American Crew hair care brand at a time was promoting the use of and selling this 3-piece set. Of course, because I'm a comb guy, and I'm a gotta know guy, and I'm a gotta try it guy, I bought them. I've never really used them as part of my cutting repertoire. You would think I would love this one, and I do, because I love that big comb thing. I was always the Champ 28 guy. These are not hard rubber. I don't think they might be. They look like it by some of the tooth cutting, but they don't. They feel more plastic than hard rubber, but they look like good hard rubber combs. This guy is way too fine. I can't even see through this side of the comb. Way too fine, way too long for the way in which I've always traditionally cut hair. I would never have a use for this, but people like it. And then, of course, the classic skinny Barber taper comb. Never been a fan. I think it's too small. I think it's almost dangerous. And if you get into the very, very fine scissor over comb work on the end here, yeah, okay, I know you like that little thin, fine end, but there's just easier, better ways to cut hair. So, never been a big user or a big fan, but this 3-piece American Crew set, I think, is an important acknowledgement in the comb game because it recognizes specific combs for specific purposes, for specific uses. Tooth configurations, thicknesses, materials, design, a big nod to sets like that. I have 2 combs here from a weird little brand. I call them a weird little brand because I don't see them readily available in too many places. Pegasus. This is their clipper comb. Very flat. The teeth, there's no spine lip on here whatsoever, which was an important element of the design in my Zoot comb. There is no spine lip, but this came along after I'd had one of these after the Zoot comb was underway. Nice texture grip on the handle in that little hexagonal embossed design shape. Weird little 3-inch ruler, I'm not sure even why, on the handle like that with its markings. And the spine depth on this is actually pretty good. But the thickness of the comb is a little off for me. But a weird guy. Now, they offered these in black and white. And what I can tell you about these is they're molded. I think they're hard rubber. They were expensive. These were not, I got these as samples, but these were not cheap combs. They were expensive. And they had them in black and white. Black ones were black. The white ones were painted white. They were black combs sprayed white. And the problem with them was immediately, the first time you ran a clipper over the surface, it chipped off the paint. They literally were white once, and then they weren't white anymore. So very poorly done in that regard. Not really reflective of what we do with combs every day, but a weird little addition to the collection to share. This guy is really odd. Here's the deal. It is some type of clipper comb. I'm not sure. It's smooth. It's angled, so it's not consistent. And it's got this goofy handle with this hole in it. I have used this comb a few times, and I've cut hair for years. I cannot figure out what that handle's supposed to do. Are you supposed to put your finger in the hole? Are you? I don't know. I've never been able to figure out what in the world they wanted you to do with that comb. It's never made sense. It's just downright goofy. I can't find a way to hold it that's comfortable or that makes sense or that works. I just don't get it. If anybody out there has ever used one of these, if anybody out there has ever had one of these, if anybody understands this comb, call me. I'd love to know. Can't figure it out. I'd love to check that out. All right, next up on the list, Starr Flight from DuPont. These are a really great material, very much unbreakable, but it is a classic skinny barber taper comb. So, of course, I don't use it because it doesn't fit my world or my way of working. Generally, the materials and workmanship on these are good. There's not a lot of flash on the teeth, but it's a standard seamed comb. It can sometimes be a little aggressive on the hair, but the thing was they were unbreakable, and they were a really nice medium gray. Sally Beauty sold these. They sold a big sketching comb, a regular cutting comb, and this one. So you could build your three-piece set, which is why I have this, because I had done the three-piece set with them in the belief that I was going to find some value in that, but no. Germany. Not Hercules, maybe Sagerman. How do they pronounce that? I'm not sure. But this was in my road kit for a lot of years. This is a big old comb, and this was used for one thing. I kept this in my station. I've used this on clients, and I like this for a long time as my blending scissor comb. This was exclusively my blender comb. When I picked up a blender, I picked up this comb, and specifically on stage for demonstration, because when I talked about working on one side of the comb or the other, when I stood up on stage with this, visually, it was a big comb, and it was very easy for people to see in stage demonstrations. So, not really a hair cutting comb. A detangling comb, sure. Pull the color through the ends, yeah. I don't know if this material stains. They're absolutely unbreakable. I've had this one for over 2 decades, and it played a really important role in a lot of my demos for a lot of years. I liked that comb. It was a good comb and a lot of fun. All right, next up, I got the BW Boyd 573. I have sold a lot of these. I no longer sell this in its exact form as a Boyd 573. I do sell a version of it, and I'll show you that right here. Okay, this is the mold. It's the BW Boyd 573, black and white. These have carbon in them. They are unbreakable. Over time, you'll start to see a little bit of chipping in the teeth, so no longer okay to use. Once those teeth chip, that's going to snag or pull on skin. That's going to hurt. No more. But a lot of years before they break down a little bit. And mostly that happens from mechanical damage in the drawer or in the storage of the combs when they're not being used. It doesn't happen in daily use with the comb. But black and white, dark hair, light combs, light hair, dark combs, you can't cut what you can't see. Now, I have a version, and by the way, the tail end of this comb played a big role in the design of the handle, the detailing comb on the Zoot comb, because this was my favorite detail comb, so I built my detail comb off of it. This is the one that's available through my website. It's the exact same mold without the carbon. It is regular plastic. Now, these are light, and they're flexible, and they're thin, and they're fine. I sell these in a 2-pack, so you buy them 2 at a time. They're not expensive at all, but minimum 2 at a time, as a very good, and I tell people all the time, you probably do not have a comb in your collection that thin. This is not a standard cutting comb. This is exclusively a detailing and finishing comb, super, super thin and slightly rockered to get you in very, very close. That's available on my website. So we'll put that in the bucket as a nod towards my comb. Now, I'm not going to open these up, but I will show you, for a lot of years, y'all know I've done a lot of cutting with standard clipper combs, black and white. Dark hair, light combs, light hair, dark combs. You can't cut what you can't see. Years and years and years of teaching, sharing, selling, promoting clipper combs. From how you hold them by the handle, again, a design that went into my Zoot comb, to how you keep them at an angle, to the size and the shape of the spine. Fundamental to my long-term success in hair cutting has been the use of this comb. I'm going to put one of them in the bucket with the combs that helped create Zoot comb. One of them, of course, the other color, I don't need to do that. But on those combs were made Kenny Curve combs. Now, I'm not opening these up because it's an unopened pack to the legacy that is my friend Kenny Alsop. But these are Kenny Curve combs. It's a 2-pack. There's a left and a right side curve. These were molded into curved shapes to match. Know how much I love talking about and using and demoing and sharing with my curve comb. These don't have a handle on them. This is a traditional curve comb, no handle. But the Kenny Curve combs in left and right hand had the handles on them. And boy, did we sell a ton of Kenny Curve combs over the years with these, talking about and sharing what you could do with these, with creative hair cutting and stuff. Really, really love the Kenny Curve combs, and a huge nod to an old friend. I want to show you that you guys know Pompadour Combs. I sell these on my website from Denman. It's a pomp comb. It's wide teeth. It's like your hand for separation, distribution through hair. These are modern. These are new. And I want to show you the Pompadour Combs Granddaddy. See this? This little Pompadour comb looks just like it. Looks just like it. This was in my student kit from Pivot Point almost 35 years ago. That's how long I've had this one. It's that classic an element of my collection. But today, we're selling boatloads of modern pomp combs to be used for the exact same things. So that one, also a fun one. A few things I have in the box here. I've shared these for a lot of years as I call it the visibility set. Remember the large combs I held up in black, white, and gray? Black, white, and gray. Here you go. These have always been available. I had these done custom so that I could have the third color, the gray color. But I call these low tension combs. These have the wide teeth on them for putting minimal or low tension on the hair. These were a very important step for me in the evolution of the design of the Zoot comb. There's a relationship. I've sold for a lot of years. I still have them on the website. People still love to buy these. It's almost impossible to break a tooth off these guys. They're modeled off of a wall type handle and design, the wall clipper comb. Very versatile, great for razor cutting, great for clipper cutting, great for blending, scissor cutting for texture, things like that. Lots and lots of applicability. The 3-piece set. I'm going to put one of them down with the combs that inspired Zoot comb, because they are part of that collection, and the rest into stock. I did mention handle type combs. A lot of barbers out there love this comb. There's a few different brands and companies that make them. I sell them in a 2-pack on my website. But again, a handle style comb. Hard to hold this to pitch and wiggle for clipper over comb because of the arcing handle design. But nice texture on the surface and a nice gap in the sizing right here for clipper work. Good fine teeth with a nice polished finish. No aggressiveness to the edges of the teeth. Again, a handle comb, popular for many, many years. Last one I want to look at from this bin right now is the carbon comb. This guy is 8.5 carbon, heavy. For its size and mass, it's heavy. It's got that sectioning pick. It's got good wide teeth. This one looks a little bit like that American Crew comb that we talked about that I don't particularly tend to have a use for. But people that like them, like them. And a lot of people buy these from me at shows. Again, I have this on the website in a 2-pack, but it's an 8.5 inch, we call it a long comb, because compared to a lot of combs, it's literally longer than a zoot comb by even a little bit. Still fits inside the Barbicide jar, but this guy's a biggie. And let's talk zoot comb now. Let's get into zoot comb. I think we really looked at almost all of the combs that have heavily played into or influenced the design of the zoot comb. This is my baby. Basically what I did was I took this bin, and this bin contains finish combs, handle combs, larger combs, clipper combs, low tension combs, more handle combs. I took all of these combs and literally I laid them out on a table with the engineers at Denman. And we sat around and we talked. And I said, this is what I love about this comb. And this is what I love about that comb. And this is what I don't like about this comb. Can we build a comb that has everything I like about the combs I like and nothing I don't like? And this is what we ended up with, guys. We ended up with the zoot comb. We've got a handle for handle comb cutting. It's got a detailing, finishing, lining, edging, fine-tooth comb. It's super thin. It's flexible. It's slightly curved or rockered for tight. It's light gray for visibility. We've got texture on the surface for grip, notches underneath for control. See what we tried to do? We tried to build the best of everything. I've got wide teeth for low tension. I've got secondary narrow teeth for tighter tension. I've got rounded teeth for smooth flow through the hair, and I've got a bevel on the short tooth so the clipper doesn't snag. I've got a curved spine for tapering and a straight spine for blending. I've got a smooth surface for uninterrupted comb transmission. Are you feeling me here? I've got a material that will never break. No one has ever broken a tooth off a zoot comb, and no one ever will. I got a light gray color for visibility, for vision. It doesn't have carbon in it, so it's not particularly heavy, but it's sized and weighted enough that it's substantial enough that you can comfortably hold it all day to do the things that you want to do. Now, I'm not going into detail right now on the snap-on guide or guard system. That's obviously where we came up with a unique patent for the comb that allows those guards to snap onto the backside to control your tapering and your blending. That's just an extra fun element of the comb. I don't want to go there today in much detail, but it's designed to be, I call it the Swiss Army knife of men's hair cutting. The go-to tool. One tool does it all. Clipper, trimmer, scissor, razor, blender. All 5 of your cutting tools were designed to be supported by one comb. And that's what that was all about for me. And as a comb junkie, as a comb fan, as a comb aficionado, if that's a word, we really tried to create the ultimate. So big shout out, thank you to my friends at Denman. I think they did a great job of making this everything we wanted it to be. And I know you guys have enjoyed them, so thank you very much for that. But that's zoot comb. Couple other things here. Level comb. You guys seen these? This is your standard clipper comb with a 3-angle level system. I've got one level right there for horizontal. I've got a level there for vertical. And I've got a level there for 45. These are kind of cool. We set a lot of these on the website. This one's available on my website for helping clipper cutters. Where's horizontal? Where is vertical? Where am I blending? At 45. So these, again, kind of a fun comb to enjoy and to learn a little bit about and to have a little bit of fun with. Okay, let's see what else we got. Ruler combs. Again, this is one that's available on my website. These are a very nice, high quality, polished and finished plastic. They have a graduated ruler on both sides, and they're in a light white color for visibility. These are finished. Very, very nice. There's zero seaming on them. There's zero flash from manufacturing. Sold in a 2-pack called Ruler Combs, white for visibility. If you're a standard 7.5 inch cutting comb fan in white, you will love these. IvanZoot.com, you'll love these. Again, they come in a 2-pack, but always has been a very, very popular comb with folks who've come to rely on me for a lot of fun combs. All right, we're going to kind of wrap things up for today. I have a whole nother bin here, and what's special about the combs right here, a lot of different colors, a lot of different shapes and sizes. These are some examples of some combs beyond my Zoot comb that I use every single day at my chair in my shop. I almost do everything exclusively with a Zoot comb, but every once in a while, in my back pocket, so to speak, in my arsenal, I have something special that I use for a unique application. So I love my combs. I am a big comb fan. I know you are too if you like to cut hair. Share this video. I'm going to post some comments. I'll go through the comments and reply to anybody who had particular questions or anything like that. But thank you for being here today. Thank you for tuning in. Go online. Get your $100,000 hair cutter. Get your 100 by 100 book. Gotta get your Zoot comb. Most popular purchase on my website is this. It's a Zoot comb with an extra comb. One in your hand, one in the drawer, one in the sanitizer, one on the floor. That's the most popular non-educational materials purchase. Obviously, that's number one on the website. But of tools, that's it right here, guys. Zoot comb system with a backup comb. Thanks for stopping in. Thanks for being here today. Thanks for watching. And we'll see you again tomorrow. Tomorrow's class is top cutting. Parietal ridge up. We're talking about cutting the top of the head. This was a request that came in from some folks that wanted to have a conversation about cutting straight hair. Some people that mostly cut a lot of textured hair that wanted to learn a little bit about straight hair in the top half of the head. I'm excited to share some technical cutting with you tomorrow on the program. We'll be here at 9 a.m. Central Time like we always are. This video will live on until 6 a.m. tomorrow, and then it'll be available online on my Patreon community. So watch it here, watch it there, watch it somewhere, everywhere. Have a great day. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.